The sun was setting over the Arizona territory. The year was 1885, and the small trading post was busy with people buying and selling goods. Men in dusty clothes talked loudly about cattle and land. Women in long dresses bought supplies for their families. Children ran between the wooden buildings, playing games in the dirt. Ayanna sat on a wooden crate outside the trading post. Her dress was torn and dirty. Her long brown hair hung in front of her face. She was 18 years old, but her eyes looked much older. They were filled with fear and sadness. She did not speak to anyone. She just waited. Her father, William, was inside the trading post. He was a tall man with a red face and dirty clothes. His hand shook as he held a bottle of whiskey. William had a problem with gambling and drinking. He had lost everything they owned in card games. Their house, their land, their animals. Everything was gone. William came outside and grabbed Ayanna's arm. His fingers were rough and left marks on her skin. "Get up," he said in a harsh voice. "We need to find someone who will take you." Ayanna's heart beat fast. She knew what her father meant. He wanted to sell her like she was a horse or a cow. This was not the first time he had talked about it. For weeks he had been saying that she was the only thing left that had value. "Please, Papa," she whispered. "Don't do this to me." William looked away from her eyes. "I don't have a choice," he said. "We need money, and you're old enough to take care of yourself now." They walked to the back of the trading post where men gathered to drink and make deals. The air smelled of tobacco smoke and unwashed bodies. Men looked at Ayanna like she was something to buy. Their eyes made her feel sick. One man with yellow teeth smiled at her. "How much?" he asked William. $50, William said quickly. The man with yellow teeth laughed. "Too much for damaged goods," he said. "Look at her. She's too thin and too scared. $20. Ayanna wanted to run away, but her father held her arm tightly. She felt like she could not breathe. These men were talking about her like she was not even there. $30, William said. "That's my final price." The man with yellow teeth was about to agree when a quiet voice spoke from behind them. "I will give you 5 horses and 20 pieces of silver." Everyone turned to look. A tall Apache man stood in the shadows near the building. He was about 35 years old with long black hair and dark skin. He wore simple clothes, a brown shirt and dark pants. His face was serious and his dark eyes looked directly at William. The men around them became quiet. Some of them put their hands on their guns. Apache people and white settlers did not usually make deals together. There was too much fighting between them. "An Indian?" William said with surprise. "You want to buy my daughter?" The Apache man stepped closer. His name was Dakota, which meant friend to all in his language. But Dakota had not felt like a friend to anyone for a long time. 2 years ago, soldiers had killed his wife and 2 young children. Since then, he had lived alone in the mountains. 5 horses and 20 pieces of silver, Dakota said again. His voice was calm and steady. "That is worth more than $50. William looked at the other men. He could see that Dakota's offer was much better than anything else he would get. Horses were very valuable, and silver was always worth money. "Why do you want her?" William asked. Dakota looked at Ayanna for the first time. He saw the fear in her eyes and the bruises on her arms. He remembered his own wife when she was young and scared. He remembered his daughter, who would have been about Ayanna's age if she had lived. "That is my business," Dakota said simply. The man with yellow teeth laughed nervously. "You can't sell a white girl to an Indian," he said. "It's not right." William looked at the money he could make. 5 horses and 20 pieces of silver would solve all his problems. He could pay his debts and still have money left over. "It's my daughter," William said. "I can sell her to whoever I want." Ayanna felt like the world was spinning around her. She was going to be sold to an Apache man. She had heard terrible stories about Apache people. White settlers said they were dangerous and cruel. But when she looked at Dakota, she did not see cruelty in his eyes. She saw sadness. "Do you agree to this deal?" Dakota asked William. William nodded quickly. "Yes, I agree." Dakota walked away and returned a few minutes later with 5 beautiful horses. They were strong and healthy animals. He also had a leather bag with 20 pieces of silver inside. "The girl comes with me now," Dakota said as he gave William the horses and silver. William took the payment without looking at his daughter. He was already thinking about the card games he could play with his new money. Ayanna stood up slowly. Her legs felt weak. Everything was happening so fast. In just a few minutes, her whole life had changed. She was no longer William's daughter. She belonged to this Apache man she had never seen before. Dakota looked at her again. "Can you ride a horse?" he asked. Ayanna nodded. She had learned to ride when she was a child, before her mother died and her father started drinking. Dakota brought a gentle brown horse over to her. "This is your horse," he said. "Her name is Star because of the white mark on her head." Ayanna was surprised. She had expected Dakota to tie her up or force her to walk behind his horse. Instead, he was giving her own horse to ride. "Get your things," Dakota said. Ayanna looked at her father, but William had already walked away with his new money. She had no things to get. Everything she owned was the dirty dress she wore and the shoes on her feet. "I don't have anything," she said quietly. Dakota nodded like he understood. He helped her get on the horse. His hands were gentle, not rough like her father's hands. Other people at the trading post watched them leave. Some of the men shook their heads. They thought William was crazy to sell his daughter to an Apache. Others thought Dakota was the crazy one for paying so much for a scared white girl. As they rode away from the trading post, Ayanna looked back one last time. She saw her father already drinking whiskey with some other men. He did not look at her or wave goodbye. It was like she had never existed. Dakota rode beside her, not ahead of her like she had expected. He did not talk much, but sometimes he would point to things along the trail. A bird flying overhead, a flower growing beside the path, water running in a small stream. The sun was almost gone now. The sky was orange and purple. Ayanna had never been away from the trading post area before. Everything looked strange and new. She was scared about what would happen to her, but she was also a little curious. For the first time in months, she was away from her father's angry voice and rough hands. This Apache man, Dakota, had not hurt her or shouted at her. Maybe she thought things could not get much worse than they had been. As they rode into the growing darkness, Ayanna did not know that this was the beginning of a completely different life. She did not know that Dakota was also running away from his own pain. And she did not know that together, they would learn to heal the wounds that life had given them both. They rode through the night under the bright stars. Ayanna had never seen so many stars before. At the trading post, there were always fires and lanterns that made the sky look dim. Out here in the desert, the stars looked like tiny diamonds, spread across black cloth. Dakota knew the way even in the darkness. His horse moved carefully along paths that Ayanna could not see. Sometimes they went around big rocks. Sometimes they went up hills or down into small valleys. Ayanna tried to remember the way, but everything looked the same to her. Her horse, Star, was gentle and easy to ride. The white mark on Star's head really did look like a star. Ayanna had never owned a horse before. Her father had sold their only horse months ago to pay for his gambling debts. After several hours, Dakota stopped near a small group of trees. "We will rest here," he said. Ayanna climbed down from her horse. Her legs were sore from riding so long. She watched as Dakota took care of both horses. He gave them water from a leather bag and let them eat grass. "Are you hungry?" Dakota asked. Ayanna nodded. She had not eaten anything since morning, and that had only been a small piece of bread. Dakota gave her some dried meat and water. The meat was salty and tough, but it tasted good. The water was cool and clean. Much better than the dirty water at the trading post. "What will happen to me?" Ayanna asked quietly. Dakota looked at her in the starlight. "You will be safe," he said. "That is why I brought you." "But why did you buy me? What do you want from me?" Dakota was quiet for a long time. He looked up at the stars before he answered. "I had a family once. he said slowly. A wife and 2 children. Soldiers killed them 2 years ago. Ayana felt sorry for him. She could hear the sadness in his voice. I'm sorry, she said. I live alone now, Dakota continued. But when I saw your father trying to sell you to those men, I remembered my wife when she was young. I remembered my daughter who would be about your age now. So you bought me to replace them? No, Dakota said firmly. No one can replace them, but I could not let those men hurt you. Some of them are very bad men who hurt women, Ayana thought, about the man with yellow teeth. She remembered how he had looked at her. She felt scared when she thought about what might have happened if Dakota had not been there. Will you hurt me? She asked. Dakota looked surprised by her question. No, he said. I will never hurt you. You will have your own place to sleep, your own food. I will teach you how to live safely in this land. Ayana wanted to believe him, but she had learned not to trust men easily. Her father had promised many times to stop drinking and gambling. He had promised to take better care of her, but he always broke his promises. They rested for about an hour. Then Dakota said it was time to keep moving. We need to get far away. Before morning, he explained. Some people might try to follow us. They rode for the rest of the night. As the sun started to come up, Ayana could see that they were in a very different place now. There were tall red rocks all around them. Some of the rocks looked like giant fingers pointing up at the sky. Others looked like old castles. This is beautiful, Ayana said with wonder. Dakota smiled for the first time since she had met him. Yes, he said. This land is sacred to my people. It has been our home for many generations. They rode between the tall rocks until they came to a narrow canyon. The canyon walls were so high that Ayana had to bend her head back to see the top. Dakota led the way through the canyon. The path was so narrow that they had to ride single file. After about an hour in the canyon, they came to a wider area. There was a small stream running through it, and grass growing along the water. A few trees provided shade. Against one wall of the canyon, Ayana could see a simple house made of stone and wood. This is my home, Dakota said. The house was small, but looked strong and well built. There was a garden nearby with corn, beans, and squash growing in neat rows. Everything looked clean and well cared for. How long have you lived here? Ayana asked. I built this place after my family died, Dakota said. It is hidden from soldiers and settlers. No one can find it unless they know the secret path through the canyon. Dakota helped Ayana down from her horse. She looked around at the peaceful little valley. Birds sang in the trees. The stream made a gentle sound as it flowed over the rocks. It was the most beautiful place she had ever seen. Are there other people here? She asked. No, Dakota said. Just me, and now you. Dakota showed her where to tie her horse so Star could drink water and eat grass. Then he took her to see the house. Inside, it was simple but comfortable. There was a main room with a fire, pit in the center. Smoke went up through a hole in the roof. There were sleeping areas separated by woven mats. Everything was very clean and organized. You will sleep here, Dakota said, showing her to a corner of the house. This was where my daughter slept when she visited me. He had made a soft bed with animal furs and blankets. There was also a wooden chest where she could keep things, though she had nothing to put in it yet. Where will you sleep? Ayana asked. On the other side of the house, Dakota said. You will have privacy. Ayana was surprised again. She had expected that Dakota would want to sleep near her or watch her all the time. Instead, he was giving her own space. Dakota showed her the rest of his home. Behind the house was a small building where he kept tools and supplies. There was also an area where he cooked food outside when the weather was good. I will make breakfast, he said. You must be very tired. Ayana sat on a rock near the stream, while Dakota prepared food. She watched him work. His movements were careful and quiet. He seemed to know exactly what he was doing. He made a fire and cooked corn cakes on a flat stone. He also prepared some kind of tea from dried leaves. The food smelled wonderful. Ayana realized that she was very hungry. She had been too nervous to eat much of the dried meat during the night. "This is good," she said as she ate the corn cakes. They were much better than anything her father had ever made for her. "My wife taught me to cook," Dakota said. "She said a man should know how to take care of himself and his family." After they ate, Dakota showed Ayana where she could wash herself in the stream. The water was cold but clean. She had not had a proper bath in weeks. It felt wonderful to wash the dirt and fear from her skin. Dakota gave her clean clothes to wear. They were simple, a long shirt and pants made from soft animal skin. They were too big for her, but they were much cleaner and warmer than her old dress. "These belong to my wife," Dakota said. "She was taller than you, but they will keep you warm." Ayana put on the clean clothes. For the first time in months, she felt almost human again. The clothes smelled like sage and cedar. They were soft against her skin. "Get some sleep," Dakota said. "You have had a long journey." Ayana went to her sleeping area. The bed was softer than anything she had slept on in a long time. At her father's house, she had slept on the floor with only a thin blanket. She lay down and closed her eyes. She could hear Dakota moving around quietly in the house. She could hear the stream flowing outside. She could hear birds singing in the trees. For the first time in years, Ayana felt safe. She was still scared about what would happen next, but she was not afraid that someone would hurt her tonight. Dakota had kept his word so far. He had been gentle and respectful. As she fell asleep, Ayana thought about the strange turn her life had taken. Yesterday she had been her father's property, waiting to be sold to the highest bidder. Today she was in a hidden canyon with an Apache, man who seemed to want only to protect her. She did not understand why Dakota had really bought her. She did not understand what he expected from her. But for now she was warm and fed and safe. That was more than she had hoped for when the sun set yesterday. Outside, Dakota sat by the fire and looked up at the sky. He was thinking about his wife and children. He wondered if he had done the right thing by bringing this white girl to his home. He wondered what his wife would think about his decision. But when he remembered the fear in Ayana's eyes and the way those men had looked at her, he knew he could not have left her there. Maybe helping her would not bring his family back, but it might help heal some of the pain in his heart. Tomorrow would bring new challenges. Ayana would have to learn how to live in this place. She would have to learn new ways of doing things. And he would have to learn how to take care of someone again after being alone for so long. But tonight, they were both safe in the hidden canyon, and that was enough. Ayana woke up when the sun was high in the sky. She had slept longer and better than she had in months. For a moment, she forgot where she was. Then she remembered everything that had happened. The trading post, her father selling her, the long ride through the night with Dakota. She could hear sounds coming from outside the house. She got up and looked out. Dakota was working in his garden, pulling weeds from around the corn plants. He moved slowly and carefully, making sure not to hurt the growing vegetables. Ayana had never seen a man work in a garden before. At home, her father had thought that growing food was women's work. He spent his time drinking and gambling while she tried to keep a small vegetable patch alive behind their house. "Good morning," Dakota said when he saw her. "Did you sleep well?" "Yes," Ayana said. "Thank you." "Are you hungry?" Ayana nodded. Her stomach was making noise. She realized that yesterday had been one of the few days in her life when she had eaten enough food. Dakota showed her where he kept food supplies. There were clay pots filled with corn, beans, and dried meat. There were also bundles of dried plants hanging from the ceiling. "What are those?" Ayana asked, pointing to the dried plants. "Medicine," Dakota said, "and some are for cooking. Some make tea. My people have used these plants for hundreds of years." He taught her how to make breakfast. First, they ground corn into flour using a flat stone and a smaller stone that fit in her hands. It was hard work, and Ayana's arms got tired quickly. "You will get stronger," Dakota said when he saw her struggling. "It takes time." They mixed the corn flour with water and made it into flat cakes. Dakota cooked them on a hot stone over the fire. He also made tea from some of the dried leaves. While they ate, Dakota began to teach Ayana some words in his language. He pointed to things and told her what they were called. Water was tu, fire was kon, food was chian. Ayana tried to repeat the words, but they were very different from English. The sounds were hard for her to make. Sometimes Dakota would laugh gently when she said something wrong, but not in a mean way. "Why are you teaching me your language?" Ayana asked. "You live here now," Dakota said. "You should know the language of this land." After breakfast, Dakota showed Ayana around the canyon. He taught her where to find different things she would need. He showed her the best places to get water from the stream. He showed her where wild plants grew that were good to eat. "This is called prickly pear," he said, pointing to a cactus with flat, round pieces. "You can eat the fruit when it turns red, but be careful of the thorns." He showed her another plant with small purple flowers. "This is good for stomachache," he said. "Make tea from the leaves when you feel sick." There were so many plants to learn about. Some were food, some were medicine, some were poisonous and dangerous. Ayana tried to remember everything, but it was hard. At home, she had only known a few simple plants like corn and beans. "Don't worry," Dakota said when he saw her confused face. "I will teach you little by little. It took me many years to learn all of this from my grandmother." In the afternoon, Dakota taught Ayana how to take care of the horses. He showed her how to brush them and check their feet for stones. He taught her how to put the saddle on correctly and how to tie the ropes. "Horses are our partners," he said. "We must take good care of them and they will take good care of us." Star seemed to like Ayana. The horse would come to her when she called and would eat grass from her hand. Ayana had never had a pet before, and she enjoyed spending time with the gentle animal. On the second day, Dakota began teaching Ayana how to make things she would need. He showed her how to weave baskets from thin branches. The work was hard, on her fingers, but slowly she began to understand the pattern. "My daughter was learning to make baskets when she died," Dakota said quietly. "She was very good at it." Ayana could hear the sadness in his voice when he talked about his family. She wanted to ask him more about them, but she was afraid to make him more sad. He also taught her how to make clay pots for storing water and food. They dug clay from a special place near the stream. Ayana had to learn how to shape it with her hands and then fire it in a special oven that Dakota had built. "Everything here we make ourselves," Dakota explained. "We cannot go to stores like white people do. We must know how to make what we need." Every day brought new lessons. Dakota taught her how to prepare different kinds of food. He showed her how to dry meat so it would last a long time. He taught her how to make soap from plants and animal fat. One day, he began teaching her about the plants that could heal sickness. "This is very important," he said seriously. "If you get hurt or sick and I'm not here, you must know how to take care of yourself." He showed her which plants could stop bleeding from cuts, which ones could bring down fever, which ones could help with pain. He made her practice making different kinds of medicine tea until she could do it without his help. "Why are you teaching me all of this?" Ayana asked one evening as they sat by the fire. "Aren't you afraid I will try to run away?" Dakota looked at her across the flames. "Where would you go?" he asked. "Back to your father who sold you? Back to those men at the trading post?" Ayana thought about this. She had no money, no family, except her father who did not want her, and no skills to take care of herself in the white world. Here with Dakota, she was learning how to survive. "Besides," Dakota continued, "I want you to stay because you choose to stay, not because you are trapped here." This surprised Ayana. No one had ever cared about what she chose before. Her father had made all the decisions about her life without asking what she wanted. "What if I choose to leave?" she asked. "Then I will help you get somewhere safe," Dakota said. "But first you should learn how to take care of yourself." As the weeks passed, Ayana began to feel stronger. The work was hard, but her body was getting used to it. She could grind corn for a long time without getting tired. She could carry heavy water pots from the stream. Her hands were getting rough, but they were also getting skillful at making things. She was also starting to understand Dakota's language better. They would mix English, Spanish, and Apache words when they talked. Sometimes she could even think of things in Apache words instead of English. One morning, Ayana woke up and realized that she felt different. For the first time in her life, she felt useful. She was learning skills that mattered. She was helping to take care of their little home. She was not just someone who was in the way. At her father's house, she had always felt like a burden. Her father often told her that she ate too much food and caused too much trouble. Here with Dakota, she felt like she was part of something important. Dakota noticed the change in her too. She smiled more often now. She asked questions about everything she saw. She worked hard to learn new things without complaining. "You are becoming strong," he told her one day as she successfully started a fire by herself for the first time. "I feel strong," Ayana said, and she realized it was true. But she also noticed that Dakota was still very sad. Sometimes she would catch him staring at nothing, and she knew he was thinking about his dead family. Sometimes at night she could hear him talking quietly to himself in Apache. She thought he might be praying or talking to his wife and children. Ayana wished she could help him the way he was helping her, but she did not know how to heal the kind of pain he carried. She only knew how to be grateful for his kindness and to work hard to learn everything he taught her. One evening, as they sat by the fire after a day of hard work, Ayana said something that surprised both of them. "I think I want to stay here," she said quietly. Dakota looked at her. "Why?" "Because for the first time in my life I feel like I matter," she said. "You are teaching me important things. You treat me like I am worth something. I have never felt that before." Dakota nodded slowly. "You do matter," he said, "and you are worth a great deal. Your father was wrong about that." That night, as Ayana lay in her bed listening to the sound of the stream, she thought about how much her life had changed. A few weeks ago she had been scared, hungry, and hopeless. Now she was learning, growing, and feeling strong. She still did not fully understand why Dakota had bought her. She still did not know what the future would bring. But she was beginning to think that maybe somehow being sold to this Apache man might have been the best thing that had ever happened to her. Outside, Dakota sat by the dying fire and looked up at the stars. He was thinking about his wife and what she would say about Ayana. He thought she would be proud of him for saving the girl. His wife had always believed in helping people who needed help. Maybe, he thought, teaching Ayana to be strong and independent was a way to honor his wife's memory. Maybe helping this white girl learn to survive was something good he could do with his pain. Tomorrow would bring new lessons, new challenges, and new opportunities for both of them to heal and grow. But tonight, they both felt something they had not felt in a long time. Hope. The autumn air was getting cooler in the canyon. Ayana had been living with Dakota for 2 months now. Her hands were rough from work, but she was stronger than she had ever been. She could speak many words in Apache, and she knew how to make most of the things they needed to live. One evening, as they prepared dinner together, Ayana noticed that Dakota was quieter than usual. He had been staring at a small bundle wrapped in soft leather that he kept on a high shelf in their house. "What is that?" Ayana asked, pointing to the bundle. Dakota's face became very sad. "Things that belong to my family," he said quietly. Ayana had wanted to ask about his family for weeks, but she had been afraid to bring up something that made him so sad. Tonight, something about the way he looked made her feel brave enough to ask. "Will you tell me about them?" she said gently. Dakota was quiet for a long time. Then he reached up and took down the leather bundle. He sat beside the fire and slowly unwrapped it. Inside were small things that had belonged to his wife and children. A hair comb made from bone. A small doll carved from wood. A necklace made with pretty stones. "My wife's name was Ayana," Dakota said. "Yes, like your name. That is one reason why I felt I had to help you." Ayana felt surprised. She had wondered why he had chosen to save her when he could have just walked away from the trading post. "She was beautiful and kind," Dakota continued. "She could make anything grow in the garden. She could heal sick people with her medicine plants. She could make me laugh even when times were hard." He picked up the small wooden doll. This belonged to my daughter Kaya. She was 7 years old. She loved this doll more than anything. She would carry it everywhere and make up stories about its adventures. Ayana could see tears in Dakota's eyes, but he kept talking. My son was named Ahiga. He was only 4 years old, but he was brave and curious about everything. He wanted to learn how to hunt and fight like a warrior. He would follow me everywhere, asking questions about everything he saw. What happened to them? Ayana asked softly. Dakota's hands shook as he held his son's small bow and arrows. 2 years ago, soldiers came to our village. They said we had to move to a reservation far away from our homeland. My people did not want to leave the place where our ancestors were buried. He stopped talking and stared into the fire. Ayana waited patiently for him to continue. There was fighting, Dakota said finally. The soldiers had bigger guns and more men. Many of my people were killed. My wife and children were trying to run to safety when the bullets found them. Ayana felt her heart break for him. She could not imagine losing everyone she loved in such a terrible way. I held them as they died. Dakota whispered. I could not save them. I could not protect them. I'm so sorry, Ayana said. She wanted to comfort him, but she did not know what words could help with such deep pain. After they died, I could not stay with my people, Dakota continued. Everything reminded me of them. Every place we had been happy together made the pain worse. So I came here to this hidden canyon and built a new home where I could be alone with my grief. They sat in silence. For a while, the fire crackled and popped. The stream made its gentle sound outside. Finally, Ayana found the courage to share her own story. My mother died when I was 12, she said. She was the only person who ever loved me. After she died, my father started drinking more and more. He blamed me for her death. Dakota looked up at her with surprise. Why did he blame you? My mother got sick after I was born, Ayana explained. She never got completely well again. My father said if I had never been born, she would still be alive. That is not true, Dakota said firmly. Sometimes women get sick after having babies, but it is not the baby's fault. I know that now, Ayana said. But when you're a child and your father tells you something over and over, you start to believe it. She pulled her knees up to her chest and hugged them. After my mother died, my father started hitting me when he was drunk. He said I was worthless and that I would never be good for anything. Dakota's face became angry. A father should protect his daughter, not hurt her. He got worse and worse, Ayana continued. He would disappear for days to gamble and drink. I had to find food for myself and try to keep our house from falling down. When he came back, he would be angry that I had not done enough. She was quiet for a moment, remembering those terrible years. The worst part was not the hitting or the hunger, she said. The worst part was believing that he was right about me, that I really was worthless. You are not worthless, Dakota said strongly. Look at everything you have learned. Look how hard you work. Look how much you have grown since you came here. Ayana felt tears on her cheeks. I used to dream about running away, she said, but I had nowhere to go and no way to take care of myself. When my father decided to sell me, I thought my life was over. Instead, it was just beginning, Dakota said. They looked at each other across the fire. 2 people who had lost everything they cared about. 2 people who had been carrying pain that felt too heavy to bear. Do you think about them every day? Ayana asked about his family. Yes, Dakota said. Every morning when I wake up, for just a moment I forget they are gone. I think I will see Ciala making breakfast or hear Kaya playing with her doll. Then I remember, and the pain comes back. I think about my mother too, Ayana said. I wonder what she would think about my life now. I think she would be proud that I learned to take care of myself. She would be proud, Dakota agreed. And my wife would be proud of me for helping you. She always said we should help people who need help, even when we are hurting ourselves. Over the next few days, something changed between them. They talked more openly about their feelings. When Dakota looked sad, Ayana would sit with him quietly or make him tea. When Ayana felt scared about the future, Dakota would remind her of all the things she had already learned to do. One morning, Ayana woke up to find Dakota sitting outside, looking up at the sky. She could tell he had been awake for a long time. "Are you all right?" she asked. "Today is the day they died," he said quietly. 2 years ago today. Ayana sat down beside him. She did not try to say anything to make him feel better. She just stayed with him so he would not be alone with his grief. "Would you like to tell me more about them?" she asked. Dakota smiled a little. "Ciala loved to sing," he said. "She would sing while she worked in the garden. She would sing lullabies to the children at night. She had the most beautiful voice." "What was her favorite song?" "A song about a bird that flew over the mountains looking for her lost love. Ciala said it reminded her of how I traveled far to find her when we were young." Dakota talked about his family for most of the morning. He told Ayana funny stories about things his children had done. He described how his wife would tease him when he took too long to decide what to have for dinner. He talked about the dreams they had shared for their children's futures. "It helps to remember the good times," he said. "For so long I could only think about how they died. Now I can think about how they lived." "They sound like wonderful people," Ayana said. "They were, and they would have liked you very much." That afternoon, Dakota asked Ayana to help him with something special. He wanted to build a small shrine to remember his family. They gathered pretty stones from the stream and arranged them in a circle. Dakota placed the things from his leather bundle in the center. "In my culture, we believe that the spirits of our loved ones can visit us," he explained. "This shrine will help them find us if they want to come." Ayana helped him pick flowers to put around the stones. She did not know if she believed in spirits, but she knew the shrine was important to Dakota. When they finished, Dakota sang a song in Apache. His voice was deep and sad, but also full of love. Ayana did not understand all the words, but she could feel the emotion in them. "What did the song say?" she asked when he finished. "It told them that I miss them every day, but that I am learning to live again. It told them about you and how you are helping me remember how to care about someone." Ayana felt surprised. "I'm helping you?" "Yes," Dakota said. "Teaching you and watching you grow stronger has given me a reason to get up each morning. Taking care of you has reminded me that there is still good in the world." That evening, as they prepared dinner together, Ayana realized something important. She and Dakota were both broken people who had found each other. They were helping each other heal from their wounds. It was not a romantic love like in the stories she had heard. It was something different, but just as important. "Dakota," she said as they ate their meal, "thank you for saving me. Not just from those men at the trading post, but from believing that I was worthless. Thank you for reminding me that life can still have meaning even after great loss," Dakota replied. They sat together in comfortable silence, two people who understood each other's pain and were learning to carry it together. Outside, the wind sang through the canyon walls and the stars began to appear in the darkening sky. Neither of them knew what the future would bring, but they knew they would face it together. They had found in each other something precious, someone who understood that healing takes time and that sometimes the best medicine is simply not being alone. Winter was coming to the canyon, and Ayana had been living with Dakota for 4 months. She had learned so much that sometimes she felt like a completely different person from the scared girl who had been sold at the trading post. One cold morning, in early December, Dakota came back from checking their horses with a worried look on his face. He had been gone longer than usual, and Ayana could tell something was wrong. "What is it?" she asked. "I found tracks near the entrance to our canyon," Dakota said. "Boot prints from white men's shoes. They were looking around, trying to find a way in." Ayana felt her heart start beating faster. "Do you think they were looking for me?" "Maybe," Dakota said. "Or maybe they were soldiers looking for Apache people. Either way, they are too close to our home." Dakota went to a wooden box where he kept things hidden under blankets. He pulled out a rifle and checked to make sure it was loaded. He also took out a bag of bullets and a long knife. "Are we in danger?" Ayana asked. "I don't know yet," Dakota said. but we need to be ready to leave quickly if we have to. That day, Dakota taught Ayana things he had not taught her before. He showed her how to pack only the most important things they would need to survive in the wilderness: food that would not spoil, warm clothes, medicine plants, tools for making fire and shelter. If something happens and we get separated, he said seriously, you must know how to take care of yourself until you can find help. He taught her how to hide their tracks when they walked, how to move quietly through the desert, how to find water and shelter, how to signal for help if she got lost. I hope we will never need these skills, Dakota said, but my people have learned that it is better to be prepared for trouble than to be surprised by it. For 3 days, everything seemed normal. Then, on the 4th morning, Dakota woke Ayana up while it was still dark. Get dressed quickly, he whispered. We have to leave now. What's wrong? Ayana asked, but she was already putting on her clothes. I saw smoke signals yesterday, Dakota explained, as they quickly packed their most important things. My people use smoke signals to warn each other about danger. The signal said that white soldiers are searching all the canyons in this area. They loaded their horses with supplies as quietly as they could. Dakota put dirt on their fire to hide the smoke. He scattered things around to make it look like no one had lived there for a long time. Where will we go? Ayana asked. Deeper, into the mountains, Dakota said. There are places where soldiers cannot follow with their horses and wagons. They led their horses through the narrow part of the canyon in the dark. Dakota knew every rock and turn, but Ayana had to be very careful not to trip or make noise. When they reached the main desert, they rode as fast as they could toward the distant mountains. As the sun came up, they stopped to rest in a hidden place between large rocks. From there, they could see their canyon in the distance. Ayana felt sad to leave the beautiful home where she had been so happy. Will we ever be able to go back, she asked. I don't know, Dakota said honestly. It depends on how long the soldiers keep searching and whether they find our canyon. They traveled for 2 days, staying hidden during the day and moving at night. Dakota knew many secret places where they could rest and find water. He had traveled these mountains many times when he was younger. On the 3rd day, they met other Apache people who were also hiding from the soldiers. There were 3 families with children and old people. They had been living in a hidden camp higher up in the mountains. When the Apache people saw Dakota with a white woman, they were very surprised. Some of them looked angry or suspicious. They spoke rapidly in Apache, and Ayana could only understand a few words. An older Apache man named Nalnish came over to talk to Dakota. Ayana could tell from their voices that they were arguing, even though she could not understand most of what they said. What are they saying? She asked Dakota when Nalnish walked away. They want to know why I brought a white woman to their camp, Dakota explained. Some of them think you might be a spy for the soldiers. A spy? Ayana felt scared. But I would never help soldiers hurt you or your people. I know that, Dakota said. But they don't know you like I do. To them, you are just another white person, and white people have brought them nothing but trouble. Dakota went to talk to the Apache leaders. Ayana sat by herself, feeling the suspicious looks of the other people in the camp. She understood why they did not trust her. She looked like the soldiers and settlers who had killed their families and taken their land. A young Apache woman named Chenoa came over to sit near Ayana. She was about the same age as Ayana and had a baby sleeping in her arms. You speak our language? Chenoa asked in English. A little, Ayana said. Dakota has been teaching me. Why are you with him? Did he capture you? Ayana did not know how to explain her complicated story. My father sold me, she said simply. Dakota bought me to keep me safe from bad men. Chenoa looked surprised. Your own father sold you? Yes. He needed money for gambling and drinking. Chenoa shook her head. Sadly, white men sell their own children? That is terrible. Not all white men, Ayana said. But my father was not a good man. They talked quietly while the men argued about what to do. Chenoa told Ayana about her life. She had lost her husband in a fight with soldiers 6 months ago. Now she was trying to take care of her baby alone. It is hard to be a woman alone, Chenoa said. But Dakota is a good man. If he says you are safe, then maybe you are. Finally, Dakota came back to where Ayanna was sitting. He looked tired from arguing. What did they decide? Ayanna asked. You can stay with us for now, Dakota said. But some of them still don't trust you. You will have to prove that you are not a danger to them. How can I do that? By showing them that you care about our survival as much as your own. For the next 2 weeks, they lived with the Apache families in their hidden mountain camp. It was much harder than living in Dakota's peaceful canyon. There was less food and water. The weather was cold and windy. Everyone had to work very hard, just to survive. Ayanna tried to help in every way she could. She shared the skills that Dakota had taught her. She helped gather firewood and cook food. She helped take care of the children when their mothers were busy with other work. One day, little Kaya, a girl about 5 years old, got very sick with fever. Her mother was crying because she did not know how to help her daughter. Ayanna remembered what Dakota had taught her about medicine plants. She found the right leaves and made a tea that would bring down fever. She also made a poultice to put on the child's chest to help her breathe better. After 2 days, little Kaya was feeling much better. Her mother, Aiznani, came to thank Ayanna, with tears in her eyes. You saved my daughter, Aiznani said. I will never forget this kindness. Word spread through the camp about how Ayanna had helped the sick child. People began to look at her differently. They started to trust her a little more. But their troubles were not over. One morning, a young Apache man who had been watching the valleys below came running into camp with bad news. Soldiers are coming, he said breathlessly. Maybe 20, men with horses. They are following a trail that leads toward our camp. Everyone moved quickly to pack up their things. The women gathered the children and the most important supplies. The men got their weapons ready in case they had to fight. How did they find us? Nalnish asked angrily. He looked at Ayanna with suspicion. I don't know, Dakota said. But we need to move higher into the mountains before they get here. They climbed up steep rocky paths that were hard even for the horses. The children cried because they were tired and scared. The old people moved slowly and had to rest often. Ayanna helped carry supplies and tried to comfort the frightened children. She sang quiet songs to keep them calm during the long, difficult climb. As they climbed higher, they could look back and see smoke rising from their old camp. The soldiers had found it and burned everything they left behind. They are destroying our winter food supplies, Chenoa said sadly. Now we will have even less to eat. That night, they made a cold camp with no fire because the smoke might give away their location. Everyone huddled together for warmth under blankets and animal skins. Ayanna lay next to Dakota, listening to the wind howl through the rocks above them. She thought about how different her life had become. 4 months ago, she had been worried about her father's gambling debts. Now she was hiding in the mountains from soldiers who might kill her if they found her. Are you sorry I brought you with me? Dakota asked quietly. No, Ayanna said, and she was surprised to realize she meant it. Even with all this danger, I would rather be here with you than back at that trading post. You have been very brave, Dakota said. My people are beginning to see that you are not like other white people. What will happen if the soldiers catch us? For my people, probably death or forced removal to a reservation far from our homeland, Dakota said honestly. For you, I don't know. Maybe they would take you back to white settlements. Maybe they would think you were helping us and treat you as an enemy too. Ayanna thought about this. She realized that she no longer belonged completely to either world. She was not really Apache, but she was no longer the same white girl who had been sold at the trading post either. Then we'll just have to make sure they don't catch us, she said. They had been hiding in the high mountains for 3 weeks. The snow was getting deeper and food was becoming harder to find. Everyone in the camp was thin and tired. Some of the children cried from hunger, and the old people were getting weak. Ayanna did everything she could to help. She used the skills Dakota had taught her to find edible plants under the snow. She helped hunt for small animals like rabbits and birds. She made medicine tea for people who got sick from the cold. The Apache families had accepted her now. They called her White Dove because she was gentle and helpful. But Ayanna could see that they were all struggling to survive. One cold morning, Dakota woke her up early. "Come with me," he said quietly. "I want to show you something." They climbed to a high place where they could look down into the valley below. In the distance, Ayanna could see a group of covered wagons moving slowly. Across the desert, smoke rose from their campfires. "Settlers," Dakota said. "A wagon train heading west to California." Ayanna watched the wagons for a long time. She could see women hanging clothes to dry and children playing near the wagons. It looked peaceful and normal. It looked like the life she had been born into. "They will stop at Miller's Creek tonight," Dakota said. "It's the only water for many miles. If you wanted to join them, this would be your chance." Ayanna felt surprised. "You want me to leave?" "I want you to choose," Dakota said seriously. "When I bought you from your father, you had no choice about anything. Now you have learned skills. You are strong. You can make your own decisions about your life." They sat on the rocks and watched the wagon train disappear behind some hills. Ayanna's mind was full of confusing thoughts. "What would happen if I went with them?" she asked. "They would probably take you to California," Dakota said. "You could find work in a town, maybe marry a settler man and have children, live a normal, white woman's life. And if I stay here?" Dakota was quiet for a moment. "Life will always be hard," he said honestly. "We will always be hiding from soldiers. We will always be hungry in winter. We will always be in danger. But would you want me to stay?" Dakota looked at her with kind eyes. "I would like you to stay," he said, "but only if it is what you truly want. I don't want you to stay because you feel trapped or because you think you owe me something." They climbed back down to the camp. All day, Ayanna thought about the choice she had to make. She watched the Apache families working together to survive. She saw how they took care of each other even when times were hard. She saw how they never gave up hope. She also thought about the wagon train and the life she could have with white people. A life with more food and warm houses. A life where she would not have to hide from soldiers. A life that might be easier and safer. That evening, as everyone gathered around the small fire they were allowed to make in a hidden place between rocks, Ayanna made an announcement. "I want to tell everyone something," she said in her best Apache language. The families looked at her with curious faces. Children stopped playing and came to listen. "Dakota told me that I could leave with the white settlers if I wanted to," Ayanna said. "He said I could choose my own life now." Some people looked surprised. Others nodded like they had expected this. "I have thought about this all day," Ayanna continued. "I thought about the life I could have with my own people, a life that might be easier and safer." She looked around at all the faces watching her. These people had become like family to her. They had accepted her even though she was different. They had trusted her to help take care of their children. "But I have decided to stay here with all of you," she said. Little Kaya, the girl whose fever Ayanna had cured, ran over and hugged her legs. "I'm happy you're staying, White Dove," she said. Chinoa smiled at her. "You are one of us now," she said. Old Nalnish, who had been most suspicious of her at first, nodded with approval. "You have proven your loyalty," he said. "You are welcome among our people." Later that night, when everyone else was sleeping, Ayanna and Dakota sat together looking up at the stars. "Are you sure about your choice?" Dakota asked. "Once that wagon train is gone, there might not be another chance for a long time." "I'm sure," Ayanna said. "Do you want to know why?" "Yes. Because these people, your people, they care about each other in a way I never saw in the white world," Ayanna explained. "They share everything, even when they have almost nothing. They protect each other. They never give up on each other." She pulled her blanket closer around her shoulders. "My father sold me because he only cared about himself. Those men at the trading post wanted to buy me just to use me. But here, people care about me as a person. They value what I can do to help everyone survive. It won't always be this hard, Dakota said. Someday maybe we can go back to my canyon. Someday maybe there will be peace between our peoples. Maybe, Ayana said. But even if things stay hard, I want to face them with people who care about each other. There is something else you should know, Dakota said carefully. If you stay with us, you can never really go back to the white world. People will always see you as someone who lived with Apache people. They will not trust you or accept you. Ayana thought about this. Will your people always accept me, even though I'm white? You have proven yourself to them, Dakota said. And you have learned our ways. Yes, I think they will always accept you now. Then I know where I belong, Ayana said. The next morning they could see the wagon train far below them, getting ready to continue their journey west. Ayana watched them pack up their camp and start moving again. She felt a little sad thinking about the life she might have had, but she did not feel sorry about her choice. Genoa came to sit beside her. Do you ever miss being with white people? She asked. Sometimes I miss some things, Ayana said honestly. I miss having enough food and warm houses. I miss not being afraid of soldiers all the time. But I don't miss feeling worthless and alone, Ayana said. Here I feel like I matter. I feel like I have a family. A few days later, scouts brought news that the soldiers had finally given up their search and gone back to their fort. It was safe to move to a better camp lower in the mountains. As they packed up to move, Dakota asked Ayana a question that surprised her. Now that you have chosen to stay with us, what kind of life do you want to build? What do you mean? I mean, what do you want to do with your skills and knowledge? How do you want to help our people? Ayana thought about this. She had learned so many things from Dakota and from the other Apache people. She knew about medicine plants and healing. She knew how to survive in the desert. She could speak 2 languages and understand both Apache and white ways. I want to help people, she said. I want to use what I've learned to make life better for everyone. Then we will find ways for you to do that, Dakota said. Your choice to stay with us was just the beginning. Now we can start building the life you really want. As they walked down the mountain toward their new camp, Ayana felt something she had never felt before. She felt like she was exactly where she was supposed to be, with people who valued her for who she really was. Behind them, the high mountains stood tall and strong against the sky. Ahead of them lay an uncertain future, but they would face it, together. And that, Ayana thought, made all the difference in the world. She had made her choice, and it was the right one for her. She was no longer the scared girl who had been sold at a trading post. She was no longer someone else's property. She was White Dove, a member of this Apache family, and she was finally free to choose her own path in life. The wagon train was just a tiny line moving across the distant desert now. Soon it would disappear completely, but Ayana did not look back. She was walking toward her future, and she was not walking alone. Spring came early to the desert that year. After the long, hard winter in the mountains, everyone was happy to move to lower ground where plants were starting to grow again. The Apache families found a good place to camp near a hidden spring, surrounded by rocks that would protect them from view. Ayana had been with them for almost a year now. She was no longer the scared girl who had been sold by her father. She was stronger, more confident, and completely part of the Apache community. But she and Dakota both knew that their relationship needed to change as they built their new life together. One evening, as they sat by the fire after a day of hard work, Dakota brought up something they had both been thinking about. Ayana, he said, using her real name instead of the Apache name White Dove that others called her. We need to talk about what we are to each other. Ayana looked at him across the flames. She had been wondering about this too. What do you mean? When I bought you from your father, you were like property to him, Dakota said. But you are not my property. You never were. You are a free person who chose to stay with us. I know that, Ayana said. You have always treated me with respect. But now you are truly part of our community. Dakota continued. You should have the same rights and responsibilities as everyone else. You should be my partner, not someone I take care of. Ayanna felt her heart beat a little faster. What are you saying? I am saying that if we are going to build a life together, it should be based on equality and choice, not on the fact that I once paid money for you. They talked long into the night about what their partnership should look like. They were not husband and wife in the traditional way. Their relationship had grown from shared pain and mutual respect, not from romantic love. But they cared deeply about each other and wanted to build something meaningful together. I want to learn everything you can teach me, Ayanna said, but I also want to teach you things I know. I want us to help each other become better people. What? Can you teach me? Dakota asked with curiosity. I can teach you to read and write English better, Ayanna said. That might be useful if we ever need to deal with white authorities. And I can teach you things about white culture that might help our people understand how to survive in a changing world. Over the next few months, they created their own way of living together. During the day, they worked alongside the other families to make sure everyone had food, water, and shelter. But in the evenings, they taught each other. Ayanna helped Dakota practice reading from an old book she had found in an abandoned settler cabin. It was hard for him at first, but he was determined to learn. He said it was important to understand the language of the people who were taking over their land. Dakota taught Ayanna more advanced Apache skills. He showed her how to make better weapons for hunting. He taught her the sacred stories of his people and the meanings behind their ceremonies. He helped her understand the history of his tribe and their struggles with the white government. Knowledge is power, he told her. The more we know about each other's worlds, the better we can survive in both of them. Their new partnership attracted attention from other Apache people. Some older members of the community were not sure what to think about their unusual arrangement. In traditional Apache culture, men and women had specific roles, and Ayanna and Dakota were mixing those roles together. But the younger people were interested in what they were doing. Chenoa started joining their evening lessons. She wanted to learn English so she could better protect her child if they ever encountered white authorities. White Dove is smart to learn both ways, Chenoa said. Maybe that is how we will survive in the future. As word spread about their success in teaching each other people started asking for help. Old Nalnish wanted to learn some English phrases that might help in trading with white merchants. Some of the young men wanted to understand how white people thought so they could be better negotiators. Ayanna found herself becoming a bridge between two worlds. She could explain white customs to Apache people and help them understand why white settlers acted the way they did. She could also help Apache people present themselves in ways that might make white people less afraid of them. White people fear what they don't understand, she explained to a group one evening. If you can show them that you understand their ways, they might be more willing to treat you fairly. Dakota watched her teaching with pride. She had grown from a frightened girl into a confident woman with valuable knowledge to share. But their work together was about more than just survival skills. They were also healing each other's emotional wounds. Dakota's grief over his lost family was still there, but it no longer consumed him completely. Helping Ayanna grow strong had given him a new purpose in life. Ayanna's feelings of worthlessness from her father's treatment had disappeared completely. She knew now that she was valuable and capable. She had skills that could help people. She had intelligence that others respected. One day, as they worked together to build a new shelter for an elderly couple in their group, Ayanna realized something important. Dakota, she said, as they wove branches together for the roof, I think we have created something that didn't exist before. What do you mean? We have created a partnership that is not like traditional Apache marriage and not like traditional white marriage either. We have made our own rules based on what we both need. Dakota smiled. Yes, I think you are right. We have built something new. Do you think other people could learn from what we've done? Maybe, Dakota said thoughtfully. Maybe our way of combining different traditions could help other people too. As if to prove their point, young Ajote, one of the Apache men, came to ask their advice. He had met a Mexican woman named Maria at a trading post. and he wanted to know how to build a relationship across cultural differences. The most important thing is respect, Ayanna told him. You have to respect her culture and beliefs, even when they are different from yours. And she has to respect yours too, Dakota added. It only works if both people are willing to learn from each other. They spent several evenings helping Ahote understand how to approach this challenge. A few months later, Maria came to live with their group, and she and Ahote built a successful partnership using many of the same principles that Ayanna and Dakota had developed. As autumn approached, Ayanna and Dakota made an important decision. They wanted to go back to Dakota's hidden canyon to see if it was safe to return there. They missed the beautiful, peaceful place where they had first learned to trust each other. If we can go back there, Dakota said, we could build something permanent. A place where people like us could come when they need help. People like us? People who don't fit completely into one world or another, Dakota explained. People who are caught between different cultures. People who need a safe place to figure out who they want to be. The idea excited Ayanna. She imagined their canyon becoming a place where Apache people could learn about the white world, and where white people could learn about Apache culture. A place where mixed families like Ahote and Maria could feel comfortable. We could be like a bridge, she said, helping people from different worlds understand each other. Yes, Dakota said. We could take the pain we have both suffered and use it to help other people avoid that same pain. When they shared their idea with the rest of their Apache family, the response was mixed. Some people thought it was too dangerous to trust white people. Others thought it was a good idea that might help their children survive in a changing world. The old ways are disappearing whether we like it or not, said Nalnish, who had become one of Ayanna's strongest supporters. Maybe we need new ways to preserve what is important while learning how to live in the new world. As winter approached again, they began making plans. If the canyon was safe, they would return there in the spring. They would build not just a home for themselves, but a place where people from different cultures could come to learn from each other. We will need to be very careful, Dakota warned. Not everyone will understand what we are trying to do. Some white people will think we are helping their enemies. Some Apache people will think we are betraying our own people. But some people will understand, Ayanna said with confidence, and maybe we can change a few minds along the way. That night, as they sat together under the stars, Ayanna thought about how far they had both come. A year and a half ago, she had been a frightened girl with no hope for the future. Dakota had been a broken man consumed by grief and anger. Now they were partners working together to build something meaningful. They had taken their shared pain and turned it into strength. They had learned that healing was possible, even after great loss. Are you happy? Dakota asked her as they watched the fire die down to glowing coals. Yes, Ayanna said, and she meant it completely. For the first time in my life, I am truly happy. So am I, Dakota said. And I think my wife and children would be proud of what we have built together. I think my mother would be proud too, Ayanna said. She always told me that the most important thing in life was to help other people. As they prepared for sleep, both of them felt hopeful about the future. They had learned that it was possible to create something beautiful from something broken. 5 years had passed since Ayanna first arrived at Dakota's hidden canyon. It was now 1890, and many things had changed in the Arizona territory. But in their secret valley, something special had grown. Ayanna and Dakota had returned to the canyon 3 years earlier and found it just as beautiful as they remembered. They had rebuilt their home and created something much larger than just a place for two people to live. They had built a sanctuary. Word had spread quietly through both Apache and settler communities about the hidden place where people could find help and healing. Apache families came when they needed medical care that Ayanna could provide with her knowledge of both traditional and white medicine. Settlers came when they were lost or injured in the desert and needed someone who understood the land. Their home had grown into several buildings around the canyon. There was the main house where Ayanna and Dakota lived. There was a building for guests who needed a place to stay. There was a workshop where they taught people different skills, And there was a school where Apache children could learn English and white children could learn about Apache culture. Chenoa had come to live with them permanently, bringing her now 6-year-old son Kai. She had become Ayana's closest friend and helped teach the Apache children who came to their school. Ahote and Maria had also joined them, along with their 2 young children who spoke 3 languages fluently. On this particular morning in late spring, Ayana was in her garden gathering vegetables for lunch when she heard horses approaching. She looked up to see a group of men in uniforms riding toward their canyon. Her heart started beating fast, but she forced herself to stay calm. These were not soldiers. They wore the uniforms of territorial government officials. Behind them rode several Apache men she recognized as leaders from different tribes. This was not a raid or an attack. This was some kind of official visit. Dakota came out of the workshop where he had been teaching a young settler boy how to make arrows. He saw the approaching riders and walked calmly to stand beside Ayana. "Government men," he said quietly. "Should we be worried?" Ayana asked. "We'll find out," Dakota said. "But we have done nothing wrong. We have helped people and hurt no one." The group of riders stopped in front of their house. The leader was a man in his 50s with gray hair and tired eyes. He looked around at their peaceful settlement with surprise. "I am Agent Morrison from the Bureau of Indian Affairs," he said. "I'm looking for a white woman named Ayana, who is reportedly living with Apache people." Ayana stepped forward. "I am Ayana," she said calmly. Agent Morrison looked at her with confusion. She was dressed in a mixture of Apache and settler clothing. Her skin was brown from years in the sun. Her hair was long and braided in Apache style, but her eyes were still clearly those of a white woman. "Ma'am, we have received reports that you were kidnapped by Apache raiders several years ago," Agent Morrison said. "We're here to rescue you and return you to your people." Ayana almost smiled. "I was not kidnapped," she said. "I chose to live here." "That's impossible," said another government man. "No white woman would choose to live with savages." One of the Apache leaders, Chief Nietzsche, spoke up angrily. "These people are not savages," he said in clear English. "They have helped my people many times. They have saved lives and brought peace." Agent Morrison looked even more confused. "Chief, you speak English?" "White Dove taught many of us." "Chief," Nietzsche said, using Ayana's Apache name. "She has been a bridge between our peoples. She has helped us understand each other." Dakota stepped forward. "Agent Morrison, you are welcome to stay here and see what we have built. But Ayana is not a prisoner. She is my partner, and this is her home by choice." "Show me," Agent Morrison said. Over the next 3 days, the government officials stayed in their canyon and saw everything they had created. They watched Ayana teach Apache children to read English, while Dakota taught settler children about desert survival. They saw Maria translating between Apache and Mexican visitors. They watched Chenoa help deliver a baby for a settler woman whose husband had brought her there, because he knew Chenoa was the best midwife in the territory. They saw Apache men and white men working together to build a new storage house. They saw children of different races playing together and speaking multiple languages. They saw people sharing food and helping each other without caring about the color of anyone's skin. "I have never seen anything like this," Agent Morrison admitted to Ayana on the 3rd evening. "How did you make this work?" "We started with respect," Ayana explained. "We learned each other's languages and customs. We focused on what we had in common instead of what made us different." "But surely there have been conflicts?" "Of course," Dakota said. "People disagree sometimes, but we have learned to solve problems by talking and listening, not by fighting." Agent Morrison was writing notes in a small book. "The government is trying to decide what to do about the Apache people," he said. "Some officials want to force everyone onto reservations. Others think there might be better ways. What we have built here could be a model," Ayana said carefully. "People from different cultures can live together peacefully if they try to understand each other." Chief Nietzsche nodded. "My people need to learn how to survive in the white world," he said, "but we also want to keep our own culture alive. This place shows us how to do both." On the 4th morning, Agent Morrison gathered everyone in the canyon, together. Apache families, settler families, mixed families like Ajote and Maria's, and government officials all sat in a large circle. "I came here expecting to find a kidnapped white woman who needed to be rescued," Agent Morrison said. "Instead, I found something I never expected to see. I found proof that people from different cultures can work together and help each other." He looked around at all the faces watching him. "The territorial government is going to hear about this place. Some officials will not like what you have done here. They believe that different races should not mix." Ayanna felt worried. "Will you try to shut us down?" "I'm going to recommend that the government leave you alone," Agent Morrison said. "What you have built here is working. You are helping people and causing no trouble. Maybe other places can learn from your example." The Apache leaders seemed pleased with this. "We want to send more of our young people here to learn," Chief Nietzsche said. "We want them to understand both worlds so they can help our people survive." Over the next 2 years, their hidden canyon became less hidden. The territorial government officially recognized it as a cultural exchange settlement. Apache families were allowed to send their children there for education. White settlers could come for medical help and to learn survival skills. Ayanna found herself becoming something she had never expected to be, a leader and teacher. People came from far away to ask her advice about how to solve conflicts between different groups. She traveled to other settlements to help establish schools that taught multiple languages and cultures. Dakota became known as a skilled negotiator who could help Apache leaders communicate with government officials. His knowledge of both Apache and white customs made him valuable in treaty discussions, but they never forgot where they had started. Every evening, they would sit together by the fire and remember the scared girl and the grieving man who had found each other at a trading post years earlier. "Do you ever wonder what would have happened if you had not been there that day?" Ayanna asked one night. "I try not to think about it," Dakota said. "But I know my life would have been much emptier." "Mine too," Ayanna said. "You saved me in more ways than you will ever know." "We saved each other," Dakota corrected her. By 1892, their canyon was home to over 50 people from different backgrounds. Apache families, Mexican families, white families, and mixed families all lived together, peacefully. Children grew up speaking multiple languages and understanding multiple cultures. Ayanna had married Dakota in a ceremony that combined Apache and white traditions, though their partnership had been strong long before any official ceremony. They never had children of their own, but they had helped raise dozens of children from their extended community family. One day, a newspaper reporter came to write a story about their unusual settlement. He was amazed by what he saw. "How do you make it work?" he asked Ayanna. "Most places, different races can't live together without fighting." "We started with one simple rule," Ayanna explained. "Everyone who comes here must be willing to learn from everyone else. We don't allow people to think they are better than others because of their race or culture." "What about people who can't accept that?" "They don't stay long," Dakota said with a smile. "Most people who really need help are willing to put aside their prejudices when their lives depend on it." The reporter's article was published in newspapers across the country. Some people criticized what they were doing, saying it was wrong for races to mix, but other people were inspired by their story and tried to create similar communities in other places. Years later, when Ayanna was an old woman with gray hair, she would sit with her grandchildren, not her biological grandchildren, but the children and grandchildren of all the families she had helped raise, and tell them stories about the early days. "Remember," she would tell them, "it all started because one person chose kindness over hatred.